Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in on a Saturday evening. Thank you so much, Nitina ma'am, for being here. We are really, really grateful to have you here with us and to that you made the time to actually share your views and thoughts with us. Once again, a very good evening to all of you, and thanks so much for joining. We are today here with our esteemed speaker, Ms. Nitina Dua, to discuss profile building and how it impacts our liberal education applications and applications in general as well, and what needs to be done during your high school years to actually enhance or build your profile. So, Nitina ma'am, I'd like to just take 2 minutes to introduce you. Ms. Nitina Dua is the head of the career guidance cell at Shiv Nadar School, Noida, and she brings over 12 years of experience in education, fostering human connections, and creating a safe space for students to explore their potential. A graduate of Delhi University with a master's in business management, she has enhanced her expertise with certifications like a postgraduate diploma in guidance and counseling and UCLA's Global Career Counselor certification. She designed the electoral literacy curriculum for the Election Commission of India, received the prestigious Trustee Award, and was a two-time IC3 Counselor of the Year nominee as well. As an advisory board member of ICAE, a panelist on higher education, and a published writer in Business World, Pioneer and India. Ms. Nitina is passionate about cross-cultural learning, fostering collaborations with schools and universities globally. We are really glad to have you here, ma'am. Thank you so much. And the floor is all yours. Participants are joining in between. I'll just keep on admitting them. And please, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A very good evening to everyone who's made an effort to join in today, being a Saturday. And I'm sure you're joining us from different part of the country, different cities. Uh, just to give you a little bit from where we are in the Delhi NCR, and the AQI isn't very, very good here. So I think this is, in fact, one of the better ways to spend your Saturday evening. With everyone's due permission, I will not, kind of spend time on anything else and go straight into the topic. A very, very interesting topic. Over the years that I've been into education, the strongest word that I've always heard is, especially, when you're coming from a school which is so progressive. I've always figured out parents and students and all stakeholders talking so much about profile building. Before I begin, I must also share that a lot of also myths around profile building. As we'll go through the presentation, and I hope I'm well audible to everyone, you will also understand the myths that I'll keep breaking while I'm having that conversation. I will try to wrap up in, say, 40 minutes, and also then open the floor for questions in case you'll have any. That will also help you take in, at least with each participant who's made an effort to join us on Saturday. I feel there should be a minimum of 5 takeaways for each one of you. Sorry, can I move to, yeah. So one very basic question, and we all, kind of say profile building, and I think the community that I'm addressing today is of counselors as well as students, but I was made to understand. I just want you to first understand that we really say that it's profile building, and the topic for today is profile building for the liberal arts. But having said that, we always kind of say, oh, have you done your extracurriculars? Have you done your co-curricular? I hope you've kind of done sports, music, and other different things that our students talk about. So before we look at the left side of the slide, I would first like to help you understand, as college counselors and counselors or guidance counselors or teachers who are listening to me, that it's very important for you to understand why is it called profile building. What is pro? Pro indicates mean being forward, okay, or indicating looking at something that is advancing, showcasing or supporting, right? And file means it's like a thread, a detailed description or record. So that's why it's profile. It's about a structured representation of person's abilities and achievements, okay? And I say these words, both ability and achievement, because it also has to be something which is ongoing for a little longer period of time. Like, suppose if you're doing your application right now, and if you think that I've just stepped into grade 12 and let me do something for the next 1 month or 2 months, if I will tell you that people understand it that you just did it for college application. So, profile is a long word, is short with a deeper meaning. And I also decided to break down into what is it that when you're actually looking at profiling, what does it matter? It's an ongoing process. Please don't forget that. That requires a lot of reflection from a point of an educator. Because when you have students who are in high school, and you have to first understand the student's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats that the child have, and which I term as SWOT. Once you understand that, you will be able to reflect what are the kind of engagements the child will actually be doing mindfully that will add value to his or will equip into building his profile or her profile better. That also means a lot of planning. That also means adapting. Because let me tell you, educators, that we are also in a space which is inclusive. So we have to include everybody. When we say students who are coming from backgrounds which are a little less equipped than the others, there are students who might be a little challenged in many ways. There'll be students who will be very gifted in some space. So, as educators, you have to understand ongoing process, a lot of reflection, planning, and adaptation. Now, a lot of us have these very blurred lines about co-curricular activities and extracurricular activities. Both of them formulate a huge part of profile building. Okay. Now, co-curricular means that enhance your academic curriculum in an educational setting. That could be you have taken up an online course, you've done a research paper under a professor. Those are co-curricular that are strengthening your core area of subject. Extracurriculars reflect activities are, that are outside your domain that you are really keen on. And that is why because it's a topic of profile building for liberal arts, the differentiator between co-curricular and extracurricular is very, very important. Because if you're putting your application for a liberal arts college, you have to understand both of them marinate beautifully. You might be someone who will be brilliant in bio, who might be brilliant in chemistry, but you also would be a kid who might be brilliant in theater. While your co-curricular engagement for biochemistry, psychology, economics could be things related within the classroom, project, research paper, online courses that could be co-curricular. Your extracurricular would mean that a child's, has an interest of saying playing squash, playing a guitar, writing, sketching. You have to ensure that you're also ensuring that the child is being shown some direction, way to also participate, dive deeper into that area of interest. The biggest thing you'll have to deal with here is your parents, because you'll have to explain them that while my child is truly driven by STEM, but as a college counselor, you'll have to say that we have moved from the STEM to the STEAM, where we talk about science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So it's just not the STEM integrated approach for liberal arts, it's also the STEAM integrated approach for any college application. You have to be integrating arts into all spaces and connecting it through various experiences and exposure to ensure that the student has a STEAM integrated approach for the college application. Now, to help you understand what does where is undergraduate admissions officer look at, and looking at this slide, please don't say that I'm only telling you or guiding you of what universities abroad talk about, because we know that in our country, since say the last decade, our country is also shown in a lot of scope of the liberal arts colleges, and our students are grabbing and grappling to get into those universities and colleges. So it's very important to understand that while US has been very high on liberal arts education, it's also important to understand what are they really doing at, and how is that also coming into of putting a profile for a new age liberal arts colleges within our country. This Cornell University admission officer, Formula One Nelson. They said they were academically stellar at an adequate standardized test scores, but their application lacked tangible indicators of their passions, a project, portfolio, or an endeavor on which they spent substantial time learning, tinkering, or creating. It is very important that while you're putting your application together, or while you're on a journey in high school, if suppose there's a student who's just stepped into grade 9, who's just stepped into high school, it's very important to ensure that the child steps into a space of self-discovery. And that self-discovery will happen if you just read this, that what are the tangible indicators of their passion, which could be, a project, experiment, portfolio, or an endeavor on which they spend substantial time. As I said, and I keep reiterating a lot of my things, is profile building actually, it's about an ongoing process. Please ensure that your students are not just picking up at something at the last minute and saying that, well, it was a very well-rounded application. My student showed sports, my student showed music, my student did a research paper, my student did everything. But if everything is just put together in the last 6-8 months, everybody understands that there was a very one-directed approach. It also has to reflect a lot of learning. So what is profile building for liberal art focuses? It focuses on showcasing a student's intellectual curiosity, that is the domain in knowledge, interdisciplinary interest. Suppose if a child's picked up a subject, which is, say, psychology, then how is the child also integrating that subject, involving music in it, looking at psychology from a lens of, say, doing theater, okay? And how is the child able to think creatively and critically? So those are things that are very, very important that one needs to showcase. As I said, and as I also said, that I will also be busting a lot of myths around profile building as well. So what are the different types of profile building that you may understand? And I'm sure you all who've joined me today are erudite, and you all will know all of this that I'm talking to you about. And why do you think I wrote school activities on the top is, while I've attended a lot of conferences and, had the opportunity to engage with a lot of people from the admissions office of various universities, I've realized that they are very keen to see that how much was a child involved in the school engagements that the school had to offer. That becomes a very, very strong part of their profile building. When I say school activities, suppose they look at the fact that was the child or the student able to impact their school in a positive way, because that's the community that they spend 8 hours in a particular day. And if they spent those 8 hours from grade 9 to grade 12, because before that, they really don't see anything, that from grade 9 to grade 12, if they spent 8 hours, in school, how have they meaningfully and mindfully engaged in activities that a school has to offer? And through that, have they started with a little club or a project on their own and left something as a lineage for the juniors to follow? On our campus, because we do multiple curriculums, we have a lot of students who've initiated some great CAS projects, which have got a lot of funding from IPO. And those students have ensured that their juniors are taking those lineages forward. And those are projects that they're going to keep alive, even if the senior has gone and joined college. And I think that's a brilliant way to showcase how you're making an impact through the school curriculum that the school offers, through the engagements in the activities that the school offers, and how is the child truly participating in it. The second is internship. Year 11, I feel, and we do this, and I have been doing this for the last, say, 6-7 years on my campuses, internships, where we actually, kind of also connect with our parent community and leverage their connects for our students to go and explore the world of work. Our students have actually done some phenomenal projects with some phenomenal organizations where, of course, if, they get just a month and a half summer break, and within a month you really can't figure out what it is to be an expert in a particular area. But the purpose of internships is that if I'm studying a particular kind of subject, do I understand how the world of work works? Right. I remember there was a student of mine, I sent him to Naukri, Info Edge, for an internship because the child was deeply keen in literature and psychology. And the child was put on to do a little bit of a research work, which was meant to be a 9 to 5 kind of a job. And the student came back and said to me that, ma'am, I have come to a realization that I don't think I'm someone who's meant for a 9 to 5 job. I don't think I can be sitting for a 9 to 5, and doing research. So when you look at internships, and that becomes a relevant aspect of your profile building, you look at internships from a point to say that I am mapping my student either from a point of surety or from a point of dilemma. From a point of surety means that if my student is very sure he wants to do his engineering, then you actually send him to an engineering firm, get into doing some research, so the child actually strengthens his or her area. Or you send a child from a point of dilemma or confusion, where the kind of student that I sent him to, he came back and saying that, ma'am, no, 9 to 5 is not meant for me. I will probably be looking at doing something else. So internships really play a very important role. They understand how to communicate. They understand what it is to be in a certain formal setup. They understand how to collaborate. Um, I don't know if any of you have read that article by Joseph Beno and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, where they said that why we when we were hiring Gen Z and millennials for work, we were very excited, but of late we realized that that's not the generation we want to really work with, because they don't know how to they don't know how to manage time. They don't know really how to have a formality to communicate. And they have a lot of issues with the language, because there's something called a WhatsApp university, and they have this language which is all short terms, etc. So they said that these are some very practical issues with Gen Z and millennials that we are facing, and this is something that we really need to work. And I think that's where in high school we need to really strongly work with our students, is to ensure that we are making them ready for the world that's beyond school. And I think all these kind of engagements that are mentioned here, if not just ticking the checkbox for a profile building, will also kind of help them reflect to see that what are the areas that they truly need to work on themselves. Because if you're going in for an internship, you'll also realize that you have to manage time. You have to reach at a certain time, spend a certain amount of hours in a certain way, and you have to report back every day in the evening to your manager to say, this is the work that you've done. So there's also structure. The next is volunteering. Um, Empathy and compassion are very, very important things. And through voluntary work, students understand that the world that they come from is not the world that is outside everywhere. There's a world that is very different. Volunteering works helps them also burst their own bubble of being entitled. When they see someone coming from a different setup in a different background, and when they do something for somebody, they understand that they need to be grateful for a lot many things. So I feel that volunteering is something that should be encouraged. Um, Not just giving them an opportunity outside school, there are enough opportunities inside school also, and that you can help students too. Like suppose you have your outbound learning engagements. Not all the students go for that. There'll be some students who will be staying back. Engage them with working on campus. See how does different departments in school work. Help them volunteer there. Help students scribe for other students on campus if you're a school which is inclusive. So volunteering will help them reflect deeper, will make them more compassionate, will build in a lot of empathy. So please ensure that you do that. Competition, very important. I would say, in lack of a better word, I'm used the word competitions. It's also a building competence. Um, I don't know if you've read that news of saying that a lot of IIT Kanpur specifically just came up last week with this news to say that we are going to be looking at the top three rankers of Olympiads to get into IIT directly, and of course they'll have their own round of interviews, etc. So I feel that beyond your school academic exams and the board exams, that the curriculums, different curriculums ask for CBSE, ISC, IB, it's also important for students to also look at international competitions and participations. Encourage from participations, and of course they'll then understand what it is to compete in a positive way, and that will also help them in a lot many ways. There's some beautiful competitions like the Wharton Business School competition. There's these lot of Olympiads that are there. You must encourage that students do look at all of this. Summer school is another very, very good. And when I say liberal arts, a lot of our liberal arts universities today in the country offer summer schools programs because they want the student to understand what they're getting into and how is it different from the point that you and I have studied. There are also some competitive summer schools application outside the country, which will also be a great idea for students to engage in. And there's a whole lot of range that is available there, and I would encourage, if you're educators, you could build your own repository of that. So suppose if a student is interested only in mathematics, there's a whole lot of competitive summer schools for just mathematics, competitive summer school for economics, for sustainability, for English literature, and specific countries give you those specific experiences. While summer school can be looked at from a point of academics, but could also be looked from a point of exposure, could also be looked at from a point of elimination. Sometimes, when you sit here and you say to your student, and sometimes the student comes, well, I only want to get into the Ivy Leagues, etc., because the parents are talking to you and the students are talking to you and giving you that, that because my peers study there, etc. You could, once they go there, they'll understand, do they really fit into that kind of an environment? Will they be fit in that kind of an environment? Sometimes there are students who will feel celebrated in a smaller college, and there are students who will really thrive in a big college. So you will have to understand that what is my student like, what kind of an exposure is meaningful right now, and what kind of summer school will actually help him or her strengthen his belief or help him or her eliminate his choice. And also, it'll add to your profile building. Online courses. I feel it's not only for students, it is for us also. Um, I kind of keep engaging myself and get into a space of upskilling myself through some brilliant online courses. And let us look at it. Generative AI, Chat GPT, all of this. Only yesterday, Coursera has come up with this brilliant program of how do you want to really learn on Chat GPT to engage meaningfully into a lot of learning engagements. And I feel that will be a great way. But you also have to tell your students that if you're looking at online courses, they should look at certified online courses. There are a lot of online courses that are available for free, but anything that they want to look at it from a aspect of their profile building should be certified. That just validates it better. And that just adds value to someone who's also seeing it to say that this is serious work and the child's not just faffing away writing that I've done an online course. Passion projects and research. I must tell you, this is purely, it can take me an hour to just talk about passion projects and research. But just to kind of talk about it in the next 1 minute is how am I helping my student identify a problem? Okay. In his community, in the world, it could be related to environment, psychology, sustainability, the world of finance and technology, all of that, and how are they technology as a tool to solve that problem. And the world has become fluid. They could actually make a team from not just from their own school but also globally. They could reconnect, they could connect with a lot of students and come up with something which they could start from year 9 and blew it slowly and take up to year 12, and they could actually look at it piloting in their own school if they figured out and they could really make a project around it, pilot it in their own school and see if this project could have a larger impact. And also research. I don't know, and this has been one of my biggest areas that I always want to continuously keep working on and make a larger impact in, the art of research. I don't think many understand what it takes to research. We hear a lot of these things. A lot of students have written a research paper. I don't know if how many of you have been truly successful in aligning your parents and students to actually research a college website well, for that matter. So while we're talking about the bigger things of profile building, research and passion project can be another discussion, which is huge. But you have to encourage a lot of your students to start researching well. While if you're an educator, I think to begin profile building, the first basic bedrock should be to shift the accountability and responsibility compass on the student, to tell them, start researching, see what you're aligned with, and come back to us. Always populate and give them a lot of these things that I've mentioned here. But it'll always be a great idea, well, to first understand your child better and give them a homework to say, you research and say that what are the things, top 3 or 5 things that you really want to make an impact on, to truly do a difference in. Let them come back to you. They might be wrong. That's fairly okay. But start shifting the accountability and responsibility compass on them. All that I've spoken about in the previous slide. The first is for us. The ABC that's written on the top is for educators, and the ABC framework is for our students, right? Now, when I say ABC for us is like attitude, aptitude, and agility. Understanding the child's attitude, understanding the child's aptitude, and ensuring the child's enough agility. And also, as an educator, you have enough agility to ensure that you're understanding that well from a term of profile building. You can't really say that I have this kid, he doesn't have any sports this thing, but as a college counselor or an educator saying, no, it is really essential, go ahead, do your sports. That's a myth. You have to first understand what is a child's mindset. Does the child has an attitude which is a fixed mindset? Do I need to push it a little bit and make it a growth mindset? These are conversations for us to engage or begin profile building from a point. These are seeds for thought. So this is the ABC, an aptitude. An aptitude or that you have to understand of the child. What kind of an aptitude the child has? Does the child has an aptitude for a math? Does the child have an aptitude for psychology? Does the child have an aptitude for economics? Does the child have an aptitude for English literature? What is it? And then create something in terms of profile building for the child can really absorb well. B, brainstorm. It's very important. As I said, please shift the accountability and responsibility compass on the child. Give it to the student to say that, why don't you go ahead, do some a little bit of research, come back to me, and then sit down and brainstorm with the child. You would also wish to have the parent somewhere in that conversation with you. Belief. And this is ours, the ABC that I'm mentioning here is for us, because this is very, very important, because belief is, I need to believe in my child, right? You can't just wash your hands off to say, nahi ho paega, child not be able to do it. There's nothing in the profile. And there's always something to be celebrated in each child. So you have to have that belief. And again, in this conversation with the B, what I'm mentioning, you can actually have parents a part of the B conversation. Is like they also need to have a belief in the child to say that, yes, my child can do it, and this is what my child cannot do, and this is what my child can do. So once you understand the aptitude, you show the belief, and then you become the backbone for the student to say, of course, I'll help you with it. This is A, B, C, D, E, things that you can look at in profile building, and you must go ahead and do it. C is clarity. Clarity of thought, action, and word. Very important from an educator's perspective. Very, very important. Conversations. When you're dealing with high school students, it has to be regular enforcement. You can't say that, I sent you an email of that profile building ABC activities, you would have done it, and that would have been, it's regular reinforcement and conversation. So please ensure that you do that. Collaborations. There are multiple people in the community who are doing some great work as far as, you could engage your students with. There are a lot of organizations which are doing CSR these days. And, you could really tie up your students with a lot of CSR initiatives, a lot of organizations for a great profile building activity. So you could actually co-create that space for the students. And of course, once you start getting into that, your children will only keep coming back with ideas for so many things while you just show them a play field. ABC framework that is here, this is actually a lot for students, the one that's written on the bottom. This is a lot for students. the ABC framework, and this is from a point of the liberal arts, academics. You have to ensure that the subjects that the child's taken in the national curriculum also shows a broader perspective of academia. You could have your physics, chemistry, math, probably, you have your, I don't know how the subject choices are, probably look at economics or look at AI or look at, psychology if you're mixing or integrating. If not that, you've probably done your physics, chemistry, math, you could tell the student to pick up some few online courses here and there of different areas that the child might be interested in. A broad set of experiences is very, very important to be mapped, especially if the child's really putting his application for, a liberal arts college. While the domain areas and expertise are there, the other engagements need to be, there should be community engagement, like I spoke about. There should be some voluntary work there has to be some kind of a theoretical, or whatever, sports or theoretical engagement that the child's very, very keen for. So it's very important to balance depth and breadth, because that's a requirement for a liberal arts college, and character. It's very, very important how, our children and students are, as I said, are uh, are living in a space of instant gratification, where what comes easy is something that they can write quickly. But you have to tell them that when they're putting their applications together, and specifically from a point of profile building, it's very important to be ethical and to be morally correct about it. So you have to ensure that each on this profile, but there should not nothing that should be blown out of proportion to state, if you've done this much, be honestly and write only this much. Don't write about doing this much and explaining it like, starting before Christ and after Christ, and then just telling about the thing that you did in this thing. You have to be really honest about what you're doing. So integrity, ethics, morally, am I showcasing the right thing? I think this is a mutual responsibility. As a someone who's being in the part of the school space, I do this often, where I tell my students that your application, if it's put through on an honest way, it will stand reflected in an honest way. So it's very important that one does. And then also communication. I forgot to mention, when I meant communication, it's clarity of thought. Clarity is very, very important. You know, when I say communication clarity, I also often use the word fail here, where it's not about the grace of failing, but the first attempt, in kind of first attempt in, moving ahead. So even if how, if a child is not succeeded in something, how are you ensuring that you put that aside, have a conversation, give it, and help them engage in many other engagements or activities that can actually help them discover themselves. So that's very, very important from a point of view of profile building. Now, how to decide that, what kind of activities should be there in the profile building space? This is very important. I'm sure you all would know that today's generation will make a shift of 7 careers. And I keep saying this, if many of you would have heard me before, I'll just repeat it. I always say that this generation of students that we are dealing with are the students that will also, like, suppose there'll be a banker during the weekday, a musician, over the weekend, a bartender in the evening. They'll do 3 careers in a week. That's what they could be. So that's the kind of student community that we are building in. And they're ready for the gig economy. The gig economy is a skilled based economy, wherein your child will, like, they'll not do a 9 to 5 job. They'll say, okay, I'll pick up a project for 3 months, or I'll do something for 3 or 4 hours in a day, and the rest I'll pursue my hobby or my passion. So we are also dealing with students who are going to be shifting 7 careers, who are going to be ready for the gig economy. And they're going to be, like LinkedIn said it, they're going to also be looking at, change their jobs more likely. And this we're already seeing, as we're seeing younger generation, as I mentioned, it's instant gratification space. So also, when you'll engage them in profile building activities, you'll see that they'll get bored very quickly if that doesn't interest them. And it's something that deeply gets them interested, and they'll hold it on for a longer time. And more than 40% of all professionals said that they're interested in making a career move. That's true. A recent survey on career option awareness among Indian students have revealed that a staggering 93% of the students aged 14 to 21 were aware of just 7 career options, though there are more than 250 different types of job options available in India. That also comes to a point to say that as educators, we should be reading a lot more. There's a World Economic Forum. Please update yourself with it. You will get an idea. There's NACAC curriculum for college counseling. There's College Board Big Future. Those are all resources that you all can pick up, and that will also help you do a lot of your engagements with profile building. A lot of your ABCs will get handled through if you're just going to navigate your path through all these things. India has a variety of 250 career options available across 40 domains, covering 5,000 job types. Um, However, millennials are the least engaged generation in the workplace. I just shared with you about an article that I read. 6 in 10 millennials are open to new job opportunities. However, the youth do not have the kind of skills the new industries want. There is a wide skill gap. And that's what all these activities and experiences and engagements through profile building will help us bust this for themselves, and they'll be more future ready. And I think that's the huge responsibility as stakeholders in schools we have, is making them more college ready and future ready. As I said, and this is more for the liberal arts education, this is what the top 10 skills of 2025, the World Economic Forum talks about it. Analytical thinking and innovation, where your passion projects could come in. Active learning and learning strategies. This could be implied through any domain knowledge into profile building and any other engagements that you can do. Complex problem solving. Identify a problem, look at the world around you, start from a space of the known to the unknown. Critical thinking, creativity, originality, and initiative. Leadership and social influence, very important. Leadership positions in schools are something that, as I said, school activities are very important. Leadership positions in school will also hold a very important place in profile building. Technology use, monitoring, and control. We all are aware about it. How to use technology in a better way. As I mentioned, there was a open generative AI course. The Coursera has just started. One could look at that. But how are we using, technology better? Today's generation, you cannot tell them not to use technology. I think the smarter parenting and smarter educators are the ones who can help them navigate their way through technology. To say that, of course, put those boundaries, set those boundaries, but also help them to use technology in a better way. Technology design program in resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. Resilience is a term that I use a lot in school. Your profile building activities actually will encourage a lot of resilience in them. Reasoning, problem solving, and ideating. This we have already spoken about. Need to have multidisciplinary skills, think everything critically, learn and adapt technology, learn different and unique skills, stand out in crowd, build cultural, emotional, and social skills, keep learning and upgrading yourself. These are things that need to be ready while you're building your profile. This should be the purpose of profile building. That am I, through that profile building, engaging the multidisciplinary skills in my child? Is my child able to think critically, have a problem solving approach, is able to integrate the arts into the science and the science into the arts? Those are very important questions. That's the purpose of profile building. Is my child able to understand the language, technology language into everything? Like how we speak English, I feel that technology will be as easy or as common as language for children in the next decade, because it will be integrated into everything, and it is being integrated into everything. Learn different and unique skills. Very, very important. It's about, if I am someone who's brilliant in literature, and do I have the art of storytelling? Do I have the art of writing scripts? Do I have the art of, writing my own blogs? Develop a unique skill based on your own strength. Don't follow the crowd. Don't say that, oh, my 5 friends are doing this, hence I'm supposed to do it. Figure out what your strength is. Bases your strength. Figure out what is that one top 3 things that are your biggest strength, and through that start building your profile and start engaging in activities. Through that, either you will get into self-discovery or you will eliminate. And of course, build social, emotional, and cultural skills. Keep learning and upgrading. Oh, it's already 4:40, but this is a great slide. This was something that I I do with my students on campus. And I thought that if I'll put this will just give you an idea of some activities that you could do from your with your students. As I said, grade 9 is exploration, grade 10 is route map marking, grade 11 is reinforcement, and grade 12 is takeoff. In grade 9, you have to ensure while you're beginning with profile building, you're giving them enough exposure to different careers. Show them multiple videos, have conversations, engage parents, do workshops. Um, if you're starting profile building, then you please understand the student's personality, interests, and aspirations. Take a one-on-one feedback. Do a lot of skill building. Do a lot of conversations while they're coming into your office. Ensure that there's a certain way they conduct themselves, because in the college counseling office, you're making them more future ready. If you're engaging them to go outside and do profile building activities, you know that there's a certain way they're presenting themselves. Walk the talk sessions, wherein you invite industry experts from different professions, have them come and have a conversation with the students, and through those industry experts, you could have them do some projects with the students, or some of them could actually end up doing internships with them. And you can do the mock PSAT, because now you have the CUET, etc. So the students could actually take a lot of those exams and understand where are they in terms of globally, in terms of numeracy and language. Again, in grade 10, they should look at subjects. So in grade 9, they would have had a lot of exposure to different activities. Once you figure out their strengths, different activities, in 10, they'll strengthen, and they'll only organically come back and tell you, no, ma'am, I don't think I can look at doing my math. I don't think I can look at doing my science, or I don't think I can deal with a lot of content to look at social science. While you engage them in a lot of those things from grade 9, grade 10, when they're doing their route marking, they'll come and organically tell you things that they'll be able to do or not do in grade 11. In grade 11, please ensure that the child's actually writing one page of their own resume where they put down everything that they've done so far. You've done their SWOT. You are also ensured that you're doing a lot of these interviews. Communication will get clear. You're sending them for internships. There are a lot of career exposures, and there, of course, and one thing that I really strongly believe in is advocating student agency. So we also do a lot of subject orientations, because children have heard of the word psychology, sociology that comes into grade 11, but they really don't know what it entails. So it'll be a good idea for you to have a subject orientation around psychology, social, all other subjects as well, so that they get an understanding what are the career pathways that stand open, what are the things that they could engage in, etc. in these subjects. And similarly, in grade 12, you could, look at telling them to write a compelling narrative of their college essay. And that compelling narrative of their college essay will come through these experiences of profile building activities that you've done thus far with them. And then they'll do you proud and go to college. Yes. Please, whenever you're thinking about doing profile building and putting an application for the liberal arts, please do not do anything without keeping the parents in mind. Your parents are equally a part of your journey as your student is. Even if you're thinking about engaging a student in a certain profile building activity, just ensure that you're keeping parents involved. Psychometric assessments, one-on-one counseling, and then, of course, workshops. Workshops with industry experts should start right from grade 9, so that those are the people that you can engage with in terms of doing different internships, probably also writing when they're doing summer school, to writing research papers with different professors in different universities, exploring subjects deeper, looking at different summer schools. A lot of things will then start organically developing with you. What are colleges looking for? As a school counselor, I've also realized when you're looking at profile building, please keep all these cues in mind. One is your intelligence quotient, which is your intellectual vitality of the child, uh, is of course getting addressed. One is the EQ, which is the emotional quotient. One is the CQ, which is the cultural quotient, and one is the SQ, which is a social quotient. And as I discussed in my previous slide, with the different profile building activities, you have to ensure, basis on the child's aptitude and ability, what are the cues that you want to tick from those. So suppose you're doing one kind of a profile building activity, which is like a passion project, or you're looking at doing a research paper. Passion project is an extracurricular, research paper is an co-curricular. The co-curricular will help the child and take the IQ, as well as, of course, sometimes the CQ, depending on what is the topic. With the passion project, which is an extracurricular, the child is actually taking the IQ, EQ, CQ, and SQ also. So you will understand that while I'm engaging the child in a profile building activity, how many Qs am I addressing? And another Q that has come in now is the TQ, which is a technological quotient. Academics up and beyond the ordinary. Why? If my child is brilliant in either the science or the arts, how am I taking the child to the next level? Am I engaging them beyond that in other Olympiads, other competitions, some kind of competitive summer schools? Those are all up and beyond the ordinary. Breaking career curriculum barriers and exploring deeper and chosen subjects. As I said, once you've understood their aptitude, and so you will understand that these are top 3 or 4 subjects. Basis those top 3 or 4 subjects, how as a educator, as a guidance counselor, am I helping the child dive deeper into that particular subject? Well-rounded performance is very important in profile building also, that it should not be skewed to one way. It should definitely be looked at, especially for liberal arts, this thing that they should be academically also good, because the bedrock is always grades and that has to be stellar. And beyond that, your extra and co-curriculars should be mapped. Consistent interest and ability. As I said, please do not do something in the last minute. Please keep it consistent as it's an ongoing process. A lot of effort, a lot of thought is given into initiative. Colleges look at it really, really strongly. Extra and co-curricular activities, character demonstrated over a long period of time, hobbies and interest, all of our children have it. And as I say that profile building also helps them build their own coping mechanisms. That while they go to college, here though our children are, mollycoddled. When you get into profile building and tap their hobbies and interests, you might realize that it starts to become their coping mechanism. Whenever they're all by themselves, they'll either sketch, draw, or you could take that particular hobby and interest into some kind of a passion that they'll take up later. Social and community involvement, consistent, verifiable sensitivity to people and environment outside of immediate circle. Um, uh, so see, what does it, as I mentioned earlier, what do they look at? And this, I just pulled it out for Cornell. They look at your intellectual potential, which I said intellectual vitality, your character. Please ensure that there's honesty in what students do, and also involvement. There are a lot of things that they look at. We'll get a certificate done by one of my friends runs a company. I'll get a certificate put for my child. Those all things don't. It will some way or the other get reflected. If not, the teacher is validating it in the LOR, or the counselor is not validating it in the LOR. It's very important that the child does some meaningful work. So profile building is an ongoing process. Please do not think that it could be done last minute. Again, while you are building that profile, ensure that you're asking those questions. What are the things that the child can deeply get interested in? Have you been working to capacity in your academic pursuits, or your full-time or part-time employment, or other areas? Is academically the child doing very well? Is there any other engagement that the child's been a part of? Do you have the reserve power to do more? How have you your time? Do you have an initiative? Are you a self-starter? Those are some questions. As I said, the ABC of that I discussed about, those are these questions that you could ask during your conversations and get it filled, and then you'll be able to map things for them better. I don't, because you could always go up to these websites and see it. I just wanted to pull it out, and I wanted to give you an insight into how admissions offices think. How do they think while at our end we are putting things together, we are stitching that application together, but is that application holding that true value? Because another thing that off late that I've started thinking, our students are really aspirational. They really want to make it to the top, but they don't understand the difference between the lip and the sip. So what is aspirational and what is achievable? You have to really sit down, and until you don't take them through this journey, they'll not be able to understand this well. um, think I want to also leave the floor for some questions. This is Caltech. How do you define failure? What was the problem you were trying to solve? What did you learn from the experience? Did you seek a help or advice from others? And the whole concept around resilience is what I've been talking about. Tell us about a situation, media story, or topic beyond or outside of a classroom or formal assignment that has captivated you, inspired your curiosity, and led you to delve more deeply into learning about a subject on your own. While we say that, okay, if you're great in academics, that's enough, but all these questions are questions that are asked by universities. So it's very important that also parents understand, and as educators, we understand that we do understand profile building is important, but deeper profile building is deeply important. A, we'll be able to give a lot of clarity to the student or for the student. C, the child will also be able to eliminate his choice as well. So those will be the things that will get addressed. That's how in the jigsaw puzzle, all of these things come together when you're putting their application. How is demonstrated at interest? Let me tell you, the demonstrated interest, profile building is a part of it. College essay, profile building is a part of it. Recommendation letter, profile building is a part of it. Extracurriculars, profile building is a part of it. GPA is a part of co-curricular, which is also a little bit part of your application. So if you look at it, how beautiful is that profile building gets marinated into every aspect of your college application. But how sometimes misunderstood is also this particular word, profile building. Yes, I would like to take a pause here because I've spoken for the longest time, and I don't know if the audience had enough takeaways from it. My intent was to have a lot of takeaways from it, but I've opened it for questions because I want to hear a lot of you. Can I stop sharing my screen? Yes, someone has raised their hands. Can yeah. Am I able to unmute you, Anushka? Yes, you had a question.
Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
So, good evening, ma'am. Thank you for the session. It was something that I feel I really needed to hear and really valuable. So, I am currently in grade 11, right? So, there is not a
Hmm.
lot of time left to do something. So, I have a
Mhm.
few doubts. Firstly, so participation in school events and extracurricular events is there, but a certificate is not always there. So, I would want to understand that absence of a certificate, does it undermine the value of participation in an event? Because if I've participated in an event and our teachers say that we will mention it in your LOR, but there is no certificate, so I want to understand that does the value remain of.
Anushka, great question. But if I ask, where are you planning to apply? You outside the country or within the country?
I haven't closed all options, but right now I am aiming for inside the country.
Okay, you're looking at in India, right? You would need a certificate. They do ask for certifications. But I'm not too sure, Anushka, in year 11, if participations will hold that kind of a value. Depends on what kind of participation was it. Participations are also two types. Was it a selected participation, a nominated participation, or a participation on your own? If suppose, let me just complete, if it suppose it was a selected participation, it was a inter-school event and you were selected by the school teachers, out of say 10 or 20 students, then it holds value. Either you landed up winning something or not. If it was even a nominated participation, that also holds value because that shows that in terms of your making an impact of your presence in school, you've made it because your teachers do look up to you in a certain way for you to be inviting you to participate in a particular event, which was inter-school, intra-school, I don't know what level, then it will hold value. Depends on A, where did you participate? B, how was the process of participation? C, if you're looking at within the country, I will highly appreciate you. If suppose it was a school event and you did not get it, normally what happens in teachers do write it in the letter of recommendation. That kind of gives you validation. But what you could request your school management is that on a school letter, write up a little bit about you in terms of you participated like this, in that particular event, you were nominated or you were selected, and that could also work well for you. But please, while you're participating, understand which area did you participate in, how was the process, and what was the experience. So it'll hold value. Otherwise, if it's generic, I'm not too sure even if it's worth mentioning, and you need to fight so much for the participation certificate.
All right. And from a perspective of a grade 11 student, what would be the plan of action you would suggest as of now?
Uh, I so wish, my dear girl, I knew you a little more, but it depends on what are your subjects. And you have a lot of time. If you are saying that you're not able to manage your time, first of all, I'm sure if I'm hurting anyone's sentiments here, but if you're on Instagram, if you're on social media, you need to cut that away. Because your generation, most of the time, gets eaten only into that. And because of that, you find that there's always lack of time. Okay, there's no lack of time, it's only about time management. So another way to hold on to it well, Anushka, is that learn to make short-term goals. Make a goal for 2 days, or make a goal for 3 days or one day, and give a pat to your back if 70% of the goal stands achieved. Okay. Now your goal could be, make a goal sheet for yourself. And if you make it for 2 days, if in 2 days that you've achieved 75% of that goal, you're pretty much walking ahead. But if you've landed up achieving only 25% of that goal and you're spending your time on social media, 11th and 12th is just about, actually, combining it just about 16, 18 months. You can have your presence at the social media space in college also. I
All,
hope I didn't hurt your sentiment, darling. I
no,
didn't mean
no.
to, but that's the reality,
All,
isn't it?
thank you.
Pleasure. Yes, Miss Vibha. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Am I
Hello.
Vibha?
Hi.
Yes. Hi.
It was great. It was great session. We learned a lot. Thank you so much. So I'm the counselor here. The students usually ask me like, how much do we need to put in the like the profile? They would have done so many things. Like, is it there something like a minimum or maximum thing that they can put it? So I tell them go to the particular university. So each university is different. So we'll check the university and then we'll put the profile. But is it something like minimum or maximum that we should put for the particular university or something like that, like how it is?
So if you've been doing Vibha, it's a great question, and you've actually answered the question yourself. Thank you for that. Your question is great. There's nothing called maximum, okay? This generation is also doing a lot because of the pressure coming from parents and the environment to saying, now, if you look at just Common App asks you for 10 activities. Okay. If you do your UCs, they ask you for 20 activities. Okay. But I'm a
Mm,
counselor who strongly believes in there could be different school of thoughts here, and due respect to all school of thoughts, you
mm-hmm.
have to ensure that there's quality over quantity. And as I said, if someone has been doing profile building from grade 9, there'll be enough meat to put in there.
Yeah.
And the way you've answered, it's beautiful. The fact is that you have to look at each university differently. If it's a liberal arts college, you will know that which out of the 10 that I've done, which are the top 3 that I need to mention. If it's a STEM based college, purely STEM based college, then you will know out of those 10, which are the top 4 or 5 that I need to mention, because each university has a different ask. And that's what a great college counselor does. We all are good in our work. If you move from a journey from good to great, then you will know exactly which university has what kind of ask. Basis that kind of ask, what is the kind of student who's applying? Basis the kind of student who's applying, you will map his or her activities accordingly. I hope I was able to answer
Okay.
your question, Vibha.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Miss Krishnan.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am.
Oh,
I'm,
sorry, Mr.
am I,
Krishnan.
yes. My question is, see, my daughter is in ninth, and we did have a psychometric test from the school. And the school has given us some list of things that she is interested in. But basically, I don't know. Profile building is also enabled by few people around her. So she does the dance, does everything. But it's not very, how do I say, it's not very certificate oriented or something like that. Do
Mm.
you propose to keep it on social media? Do you propose something to be put on YouTube so that those things can be added when she is
She's right now in current grade 9, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so grade 9 should only be a journey about exposure, right? Consolidation of all this should happen from grade 11. So right now, I think just certificates will hold value, but putting them all, I kind of highly encourage a lot of my students to look at LinkedIn in year 11, and 10 end 10th tak. I feel that, it's just about exposure. So help her. In fact, this is also a space which you could look at a lot of a perspective building that should happen at this point in time. So meeting some inspiring people, engaging in some inspiring kind of summer schools, getting to do a lot of those, job shadowing, not internships, but job shadowing. Suppose if she's got an aptitude, which is like 3, 4, things that you've asked, they've shown, so you will also be able to understand the careers that come out of those 3, 4 aptitudes that have been mentioned. So please leverage your connects and get her to do some job shadowing in the summers, in the winters. So that she gets an understanding that do I believe, or do I want to be in that kind of a space or not. So I feel that getting on to using social media from year 9, I wouldn't really encourage. You should look at LinkedIn, and you should look at that from the end of year 10 or beginning of grade 11. But certificates are hugely important. I would say please do ensure that you're keeping all of that, a good track of all of that. Mr. Krishnan,
Thank
I
you.
hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, ma'am. One last thing is, do you propose any tracker kind of things? Because with normal days routine, there are things that we might forget when she goes in for the college uh, application. The college application also has limited words that you can write in,
Yes,
and
yes.
provide. There are a lot of people.
Sure, I'll be happy to share, but I'm sure because of lack of time, I'll not be. But yes, there is a tracker that you should definitely maintain from year 9. Absolutely maintain from year 9. There's a way we maintain it, and if you'll be, I'll share it with Meenu ma'am and the team, and you could take it off from there and maintain it for your own child. It's a good idea. Please maintain that tracker.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask that I personally want to get into the IFS. So, what are the different resources or competitions which you should think that I should be more focused on rather than just overall, basic
Okay.
competitions?
You would have any, sorry, somebody has asked a question. Muskan, are you here?
Yes, Ojashvi is actually
No,
Nitina
that's fine. There is,
electricity knocked off, so she's rejoining in 2, 3 minutes, I guess.
sure. I'll take up the question. There's a concern in the chat box. Can you look into that, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'm sure Soumeshri, Nitina will join back and she'll provide you with the answer that you're looking for. Personally, in my experience, I've been working as a career counselor for some time now as well. So in my experience, when you talk about civil services, it is not something that you plan your whole life like around. So because civil services in general or IAS जैसी चीज या कुछ भी anything in government exams that you will give to the point, I think Nitina has also come in, that you will give after you have done your graduation, right? So right now, what are your areas of interest? What is it that you want to do? What is it that, what kind of graduation would you want to do? And graduation also needs to be selected very wisely, because you cannot completely rely on civil services as the only option. What if that doesn't work out for you?
Mm,
That
Yes.
case, graduation will be the base for whatever you do in future. So to reach that graduation, whatever you think is necessary, or I'm sure Nitina is here now, she will. I'm sorry, you were out, so I was just adding on a few.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I just
I'll,
sorry. I'm technical whatever, electricity knocked off.
No.
I only heard you that you want to do your IFS, and I heard the last bit also where she was telling you that you have to do your undergrad and then postgrad. She's right. You have to be very mindful of the undergrad area of subject that you look at. Is there anything in mind that you're looking at? Is she there? Is
Uh,
she?
yes, ma'am. Currently, my plan is that I want to major in English. I love literature. So my major plan is to major in English. Considering I want to be in foreign services, I have to learn a different language. So I'm planning on learning that. And other than that, if I am supposed to minor in a subject, I will prefer doing my minor in psychology.
Also look at IR, international relations. If you're
Yes,
looking at
ma'am.
yeah, that will
I
also be space. Not many universities within the country offer you a major there. You have a minor that is being offered by some. You might want to consider that also. That'll give you some perspective to a lot of things. Sociology also try to keep a lot of your understanding history, sociology, those are things that are very important. But yeah,
I
you have to be
I personally love history. I've even taken it as a subject in 11th.
great.
Sociology, not majorly. I prefer psychology. I did try it. I
Yeah.
preferred psychology over it.
Which is okay, but what I'm trying to tell you, those are things that will be very important for
Sure,
you to
ma'am.
keep your mind space open to. But
All
great
right.
thought. All the best for that.
Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Um, any more questions, or we could call it an evening?
I would just like to add that it was a wonderful session, and I personally also gained a lot. Thank you so much for that. I just had one or two questions actually. Uh, First is that, like you also mentioned, that I think Shiv Nadar School also has multiple curriculums. So I wanted to ask, is there we deal with students with different curriculums, right? Some are from CBSE, some are from IB boards. Is there any specific requirement in terms of extracurricular which you would put on the board itself? Like for example, I know that IB is much more towards the like it's a part of the curriculum itself. So are those activities that the students are doing as a part of their curriculum, would those still be considered as a profile building activity? Does a CBSE student, whatever they do they need to do additional activities? So in terms of boards, is there a different requirement with the board, and can that be involved with the curriculum when we talk about profile building?
Mm. Great question. But let me tell you, anything that is an ask of the curriculum is not considered as an extracurricular activity.
Okay.
Okay, because that's a mandate for a student to do.
But
But
project was in IB, which
correct. But projects in IB that you do in your CAS, your TOK, your extended essay, etc. If you've taken those projects to a higher level, will that add a lot of value? But if suppose in the 10 activities that Common App asks, and if you really want to integrate your CAS project, there will not be considered as an activity. But if your CAS project has been funded by IBO, or you have taken it to a global level where there are authorities that are validating your idea, then you can mention it as a subject, as an activity, but not really. Otherwise, anything that is an ask of the curriculum, not really. It is the curriculums asks for it, right? While IB is a more college ready curriculum, it helps you understanding a lot of research, etc. CBSE, with all that it has, gives you a lot of time and bandwidth and space to engage in a lot of extracurriculars any जो सेट टाइम मैनेज नहीं होता है वो हमारे टाइम मैनेजमेंट का थॉट प्रोसेस चेंज करने की जरूरत है so that's the whole idea. But great question. And all universities look at all curriculums from the same lens. Please engage deeper into your area of subjects that you are. Suppose in CBSE, if you're doing couple of things, and look at doing couple of APs, right? And in IB, if you have subjects, look at doing APs of subjects that you've not taken. So those are things, you would have to, one has to understand the student and the curriculum better to guide the student accordingly.
Right. And just one more thing. So we've been talking about profile building a lot, and I do understand that when we talk about profile, we consider academic score as a part of the profile. Like when you send the whole profile, academic score will be a part of it. Some of my students, with some of my own cases, I have seen in my own sessions, I have seen that because the student was too involved with, say, has played a national level sport or was involved in another activity or something or the other, the academic score is taking a hit. So to what extent, or is it that the profile or the extra and co-curricular part can cover up for the academic thing if the score is going, like, what's the balance? Like, what do I need to do if, say, I'm doing two activities at a certain level? Academic score minimum has to be despite that. So I just want to understand the balance between the two.
I'll always be very clear, and please don't quote me here, but academics have to be stellar. Okay? Please make that as a bedrock of anything. Your academic grades have to be stellar. When I say stellar, is that you can't say you're in your 50s and you're playing national, okay? it wouldn't even match. All my students who are great in sports are actually above average in their academics also. So it's a mindset.
Okay, I think there's another power cut. Um, that's fine. If there are any more questions, you can drop them in the chat box, or you can send those questions to us. Muskan, do they have an email ID or somewhere where they can connect so that we can forward those questions to Nitina?
Yes, we have the email ID of Nitina and we also have a contact. We can note down the questions here and we can mail them later. That whatever their questions are, we can email them later with the
So
responses.
can we put an okay, yeah, there is an email ID in the chat box.
Yeah,
That
we anyways have email IDs for all the registered contacts, so there's
okay.
no problem.
So you all have the email ID where you can reach out, and the email ID is sent in the chat box as well. You can copy it from there. It's support@iDreamCareer.com. Whatever queries or concerns might have left because of technical glitches, Nitina might not be able to um, join back or answer those right now. And it's time as well. So without further ado, thank you so much, everyone, once again. Please feel free to reach out to us for whatever concerns and doubts come in. We'll forward your queries to Nitina and get back to you on that. Thank you once again. All right. Thank you so much. A very good evening to all of you and have a great weekend.